Hello everyone, odedex here, welcome to episode 133 of my Let's Play. So in the previous episode, I started checking out possibilities of actually setting up an automatic mushroom farm, and I've kind of come up with the idea already and released a video about it. And yeah, this is again still part of the series of completely being able to automate the production of Galgadorian metal. And if you have seemed to have forgotten, Eye of Galgador is pretty much the key material here, which is produced by magma cream, fermented spider eyes, eye vendor, and gas tears. And at the moment, mushrooms and gas tears are the only remaining products that I still haven't been able to automate. However, hopefully, by the end of this episode, mushrooms will be taken care of. Okay, so I'm pretty much going to follow kind of the same things that I did in my actual tutorial. However, since most of those things are not yet integrated into my applied energistics, I'm actually gonna first add them here, and only then start the actual building. And I think I actually am going to skip that part of recording and actually going to do this mostly off screen. So, be right back. Okay, so far I've integrated everything related to wireless redstone. I've also integrated filters and the normal vanilla repeaters. Now, something else I'd like to actually integrate are red power frames. So far I've been creating them on my own. I actually haven't used them much, except for my red power quarry. I think I haven't used them at all. But I'd like to finally integrate them. So I'm actually going to add a whole other blue electric furnace, because I'm going to need to add the recipe for brass. I still haven't integrated the brass recipe, which is basically 1 tin and 3 copper. So I'm going to add that. I'm going to need an ME interface. I'm going to need an import bus. Probably going to need some cables. And I'm also going to need a relay. And let's paste the recipe. So with some tin and some copper, with the ratio of 1 tin to 3 copper. So 1 tin, 3 copper, you get a custom recipe of brass. Actually, I'm gonna need to have some brass. Okay, there we go. So again, where's my tin? 3 copper, 1 tin gives you a custom recipe of 4 brass actually, and encode that. And now let's add that recipe using a whole new blue electric furnace. So this will be here. The relay will be up on top. Let's move this torch. The ME interface will be here. It will have that brass ingot recipe, and the import bus will be importing from inside at all times, 1 stack at a time. And lastly, I'm going to need to connect the ME interface. And this is a redundant cable, I think. Oh wait, it's not. And yeah, okay, so that interfaces brass into my system. So I can now interface the rest of everything else. So that basically means tubes, frames, frame tubes, and redstone frame tubes. So let me actually quickly do that. Okay, so just adding the last recipe for restriction tube, which now counts as the, I think, how many recipes I've got? Okay, so the 6th recipe in regards to frames and tubes. So I've got frames, I've got pneumatic tube, I've got a redstone tube, a tube frame, a redstone tube frame, and a restriction tube. And I'm quite certain that this is pretty much it. Now, motors, frame motors, since I have a slight excess at the moment, I have like spare 6 of them. Not gonna add them yet, but they probably will be added eventually as well. However, now I can hopefully begin with the actual crafting. So let's actually begin with the logic part. So for the logic part, I'm going to need, let's see, I'm going to need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 repeaters. And I'm going to go for the old repeaters. So let's craft 9 of those. I'm going to need 1 pulse former, And this is the part where I'm really happy that I've added the logic gate recipes to my applied logistics. It makes things so much easier. I'm gonna need 2 counters. So that's 2. I'm going to need, let's see, why does it take so long? I'm going to need a timer. Still have an excess of timers from some reason. 2 toggle latches. So toggle, exactly, I have 2 spare for some reason. And 2 null cells, not non-inverter or something. Null cells simply have no interaction with the moving signals. And I think, actually I need 2 more repeaters. So, okay, that's 2 more repeaters. I'm gonna need a deployer, or actually let's have 2 deployers. I could use an assembler, but you know what? No, I actually prefer using deployers. They're easier. I'm going to need a filter. Just 1. And okay, and that's pretty much it. Oh, and actually wireless stuff. I'm gonna need 3 of each. So 3 transmitters and 3 receivers. Which has a nice crafting thingy to it. Okay. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's get started. I think I'm gonna simply build this roughly here, kind of, not intentionally, but since it's already there, that kind of place, and I think it will be a nice place to have it. Also, this area is already chunk loaded, so there is really no reason not to use that fact and not use an additional chunk loader. So I'm simply gonna build it here. Let's quickly get rid of this. It's not gonna be necessary. I built it to block the light levels in order to properly test whether or not can I place mushrooms here and grow them. And it did its job, but when I'm gonna build the entire frame contraption, this is gonna be rendered useless, since, you know, the frames themselves will block the light. Okay, so I'm gonna build it roughly here, with the logic going towards that direction. So let's get started. So let's say I'm gonna also, of course, elevate things using dirt when necessary, but let's get started like this. So let's say this right here will be the actual mushroom itself. So we're gonna have a deployer here, a deployer here. I'm actually going to need a redstone torch or a lever. Let's go for a lever. Come on. Lever. And let's see, I need to elevate this. So let's have a repeater right here and here. Will be turned at the moment off, but it will be turned on when everything is running. The pulse former will go right here. Now also going to need some alloy wire, which obviously I forgot to bring. So let's get a stack. I'm getting loaded with useless seeds. So the wire goes here. I'm gonna need a toggle latch right here into a timer right here, set to default 2 seconds, and let's lock it by default. And let's quickly go sleep. I don't want a creeper spawning here. Okay, so that timer will have 3 jobs. The first one will be to send a signal into a wireless transmitter, and let's pick a signal. Let's pick a frequency right now. 1 is Monedora Quarry, 2 is the Red Power Quarry forward. Let's just go for a whole different number. So let's say that frequency 10 will be Mushroom Farm Break. Set name. And that will be the first job. The second job will be going into a counter, which will be counting up to 7. So that's 7 maximum count and 7 decrement. On maximum value it will, it will reset itself. And I'm actually going to need some strip wire, or not strip wire, strip covers. I don't think I've got this automated, but I should have some spare ones here. There we go. Don't really need to automate this. This will simply clog my recipes in my applied logistics. I don't think it's really necessary. Okay, so I want to isolate a couple of things. Let's first have my two repeaters here. So this is one with full delay, another one on another full delay. This and this don't interact, so it makes no difference. I'm gonna have a null cell right here. And the null cell, there are three types of cell. Two of them which makes the two signals interact, but the null cell is the third cell, which makes basically the two signals coming from the two sides not interact entirely. This is simply an intersection block, which kind of has a fancy look to it, looks like a bridge and everything, but it's simply two intersecting signals which don't interact with each other whatsoever. Okay, so from this repeater right here, I'm gonna have, let's see, an alloy wire, which will go into a toggle latch. No, sorry, not toggle latch, but a counter, which will count up to 2 and will reset itself on maximum value, and that signal will eventually have two jobs, one going to here, another one going to this deployer. Both of them will be on full delay, or actually no, this one doesn't need to be on full delay, this can be on no delay. And then this will reset the entire farm, so it kind of just temporarily looks like this. This will be changed though. And from here, a couple of things. So first I want to use a cover strip to separate this repeater from the future signal right there. I'm going to have alloy wire here, 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 and here. This will be separated, this will be separated. And I'm gonna need some more dirt in here to elevate some stuff. Should be good. And I'm gonna use my second null cell right there and use this alloy wire to get here. And now here I have three separate inputs. So first there is a toggle latch, which looks like this, which toggles. And I actually forgot end gates. Let's get two end gates. And gate. Oh nice, I just have two for some reason. And place them like this. 1 and 2. And with my screwdriver, let's disable the outputs from the outsides as they are not needed. And actually they will break the system if the thing is looking for them. Two additional repeaters on 3 ticks delays. And my other two wireless transmitters here and here. This one will be counting, this one will be sending a signal. Let's say this will be mushroom farm up, set name. So it will still always, it will first be toggled by default to go to the left because this one will be down and the starting position is to go down. So mushroom farm down, whoops, okay, mushroom farm down, and by default it will be like this. Now on the video tutorial I actually said that you don't really have to use the null cells if you don't want to, and actually didn't show how or why, but you can simply do it by, instead of making this signal go like this from here and this signal go like this from here, and basically this is the same signal, you can simply go all the way around. The toggle latch can still accept a signal from this side and this side. It will act exactly the same. It will toggle the latch, doesn't matter what. And the same signal will go all the way around here and then into this counter. This null cell simply make it a little bit more compact and a little more fancier, but it's really unnecessary. You really don't need to do it if you don't want to. I actually just realized I can compact this even a little bit more, so let's do that. So let's remove this repeater. Place cover strip right here, and I can move basically this counter right here. Count again to 7, and it will look like this. Now I still gonna need a delayed signal, so I can simply break this and replace it with a full delay again, and then a little bit more compact, but it's exactly the same functionality. Okay, and this is pretty much the logic completed. And now to just completely top it off, I'm going to need some sort of resupplying system into this deployer, and after a delayed signal. So let's elevate this as well. So again, let's have it on 2 maximum delays repeaters. After some sort of a delayed signal, it will also apply bone meal. I'm thinking that I'm actually not going to need any filters here. I'm probably gonna interface it directly to my applied energy sticks, because every time I make something further away from my base, I just connect it a little bit more and then more and more and more, and the applied energy sticks networks grows larger and larger. But if it's already there, if I already have a connection point here, connecting it all over here is not that bad. If I had to connect it all my way to the base, then it would hurt a little bit, but if it's already there, let's just directly connect it here as well. So any filters is actually unnecessary, so the filter that I made is kind of useless. Okay, so now the logic part is completed. Let's get the actual frame mechanism. So let's see, I'm gonna need 50 frame tubes, redstone frame tubes. So 50 redstone frame tubes, so let's have 48 more. Actually, I think I'm gonna need a little bit more. Let's go for 50 more. It's gonna craft it. I have a lot of excess brass, so it has no difficulty to do that. I may want to eventually make my molecular assembler larger by also adding more CPUs and also adding more recipe storage. We'll see about that. Okay, so redstone frame tubes. Why are they not the same? Oh wait, those are tube frames. Okay, let's just apply some redstone manually and make them into the redstone tubes. And let's get some normal frames. So let's get 20 normal frames. Just brass and sticks. Nothing too fancy. And I'm gonna need some block breakers, which I should have interfaced already. So I'm gonna need 7 times 7. So that's 49, so 48 more in addition to this one. Begin. I've got my frame motors. I'm going to need some solar panels. So they're always automatically resupplied, so I can just pull off some, so there is no problem there. I hope the design that I went for in my tutorial will be good enough. If not, I can simply add more, but this overall should be fine. So let's get let's get a half a stack. It should be good enough to begin with. And what else? I'm going to need some batteries, some battery boxes, and I'm just going to need some cobblestone as some sort of a helpful block to build upon. Okay, so to actually build it, the specific number that I'm going to go for, since the counter is counting up to 7, this high difference will be, this will be the mushroom, so there will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 blocks difference, and this one is a block breaker. So let's place it down and rotate it downwards and break those cobblestones. And I actually should go to sleep, so again, I don't want any creepers making this go boom. Okay, and on top of that, I'm gonna have a redstone frame tube, or tube frame. And from here, I'm gonna basically build an array of frames, so 3 in every direction, and then just complete the square shape without the actual corners, just like so. You don't need the corners because simply mushrooms don't grow like that. You don't need it. And on each frame, a block breaker. Now, you may be asking yourself why the hell is this center one is pointing outwards, and that's because unlike this kind of heavily relies on my tree farm design that I have sitting right there, but it still has a couple of differences, and the key difference is, unlike what's going on? Unlike trees, which have their leaves and only have the center column of tree logs, which are you're interested in, Mushrooms grow differently. Their entire upper cap kind of blocks is the one that you're interested in addition to the actual column of blocks, and you kind of have to harvest it this way. But the thing is, you have to take out the center mushroom origin block to actually continue farming, and if all the block breakers will be on the same plane, in order to break that one, I'm also going to break all the blocks all around it. So this is why it's simply the center block is kind of pointing outside, because it's just a way to access that extra mushroom block. Okay, so I'm going to build a pillar of 10 frames. I already got the base one here, so let's add 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm gonna need some panels. I actually forgot to make some, so let's get a little bit. Okay, so got some panels and also recharged my graviton suit. Let's connect it arbitrarily. Let's pick this area as the connection point for the block breaking. So place this, and obviously I also forgot to bring some jacketed wire. So let's get that. And I probably would want, well, I already have some receivers and transmitters here for some reason. Well, let's just add them to the system, so the next time I'm gonna need them, I'll know they're there. Okay, probably also should add jacketed wire because I'm using it kind of often. Okay, so right here will be jacketed wire. That will be the access point for the signal. And where is my alloy wire? Apparently I've stored it. Something is attacking me. A wisp. Okay, so that red alloy wire will go right here, and that signal will be mushroom farm break. Right above it, I'm going to have my frame motors. So right here is one, right here is one, or actually no. Let's have it right here and right here. Let's make sure that they're facing inside. So one will go down, one will go up. Arbitrarily picking the sides makes no difference. And on the outside, I'm going to have cobblestone blocks as a small platform to work with. Now the cobblestone is not connected to the frames in any shape or form, just a small platform that I can connect with. So this will be here, all around like this. Let's have the battery boxes right there. So 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. The two receivers connected like this. Okay, I'm going to rotate them. So this and this. This frame motor is going down. So that will be mushroom farm down. This frame motor is obviously going up, so mushroom farm up. And the rest of everything all around is simply solar panels. Not too complicated. I can even place some of them on here. None of those blocks, except for the actual frame motors, touch the frame, so there is no problem there, and they never should touch the frames. And also, if the frame motors for any reason try to go too much upwards, the fact that I have this receiver right here simply blocks this connection point, so it's fine. Now, I am actually not sure whether or not I can connect a tesseract on frames. Let me actually quickly check that out. Okay, so since I'm not exactly sure whether or not it's safe to put an item tesseract on frames, on moving frames, because I do know that thermal expansion, some of the blocks in thermal expansion, most notably their red power conduits, very clearly say that do not place it on moving frames because it may cause a chunk reset or even worse. And since it applies to an item from thermal expansion, I just don't want to take the risk and try it with something else. I don't want everything there to reset or even, I don't know, corrupt my world or something. So I'm not even going to try. Instead, let's do something else entirely. So I'm going to take my item tesseract. I'm going to need to build a couple more. Let's actually, while building the actual frame thing, let's cook a little bit more of them. More of this, make a little bit more liquid ender, whatever you want to call it. So you can cook a little bit more afterwards. I'm going to take an atom tesseract and I'm going to get a couple of tubes, normal tubes, nothing too fancy, and also going to get a relay. Just one relay, can get rid of this. Or actually, I may be able to not need an additional. Actually, I can use the spider trap, basically. Let's rename the spider trap to something else. Let's rename it to sorting network. Add. Okay, and let's make sure that my spider trap also is still on the same frequency. Whoops. Frequency 2 sort network. Okay, so I'm not gonna need another tesseract, it's fine like this. However, okay, actually it's important to note that this one is on receive only and this one is on send only, just quickly making sure. This one is indeed on send only. Okay, this is important. Okay, so with this, let's connect a tube that will be right here. It will move together with the frames, and since this is the most upper point of the tubing network, I can simply connect it like this. So at all points going up and down, I'm pretty sure, okay, let's just go directly to the ground so it can cover everything 100%. It will go into a relay of sorts and an item tesseract that will be on the sorting network, and that will be sending only. So what I've done here is that this tube block will move together with the rest of everything here because it's connected to the frame, but this pillar of tubes will not. So it will always move, will always have a connection point to this tubing network. And because tubes are tubes and not pipes, it will not try to, I don't know, eject an item from the top, because it doesn't just work that way. It will always look for an available inventory, and that will be a relay. And that relay will push the results into the item tesseract. And that's pretty much the collection part. And I think the only remaining part to do to complete it will be the actual refilling part. So let's do that. Although before doing any of that, let's actually add a recipe for bone meal. I don't think I've made one yet. And I'm not going to make a maceration recipe, I'm just going to make a simple crafting recipe. I have so much bones, I don't care, there is no difference to it. And it actually will be faster, because if I don't have to use the maceration in the process, so much the better, because those have an extra time of production, which I can skip if I really want to try. So let's store the rest of everything here. I'm going to need 2 export buses. And I'm going to need a bunch of ME cables. 11 probably won't cut it, so let's just create a whole nother stack. Yeah, that should do. And that's pretty much should be it. Yep, it should be fine. Let's just get the actual export buses. And let's set it up. So, going from the bottom, where is my shovel? Let's dig these blocks up. So right here will be an export bus that will be on crafting or moving, depends on what it's needed to do. It will always be active and it will be pushing bone meal. I can connect it like this. Okay. This will be another export bus that will again always be on, and it will try to move, let's say 1 at a time, don't need for a stack at a time, and it will move brown mushrooms. And then both of them will be connected using some cables to the same network basically, which then obviously will be connected to the rest of my applied and logistics network. Let's find a nice connection point. Can do it from right here. So I'm gonna do this above ground. Like I've done so far, kind of a good reminder to know that there is indeed a system, that it's indeed connected to the same system. I kind of like doing that to keep it as a reminder. Even though hiding it underground will be nicer, will be better looking maybe, but I just like doing it like this. You may call me lazy. I will not argue. Okay, so this is connected. Everything is here working. Let's actually connect this together like this. And this should now be filled up with bone meal, and this should be filled up with mushrooms. Obviously I don't have any, so I can just do this. And I can also change the cargo manager right here to move bone meal instead of bones, because why not? So let's actually change that. Let's actually have this ME interface take out bones instead of bone meal, and this filter change to take out exactly the same. And also this, let's change that. Gonna need a little bit more bone meal for that. To also change the regulator. So let's tell my system to get a little bit more bone meal in here. Okay. And replace the regulator with bone meal, bone meal, bone meal. Okay, and I can dump the rest of those bones inside. Okay, so this should pretty much be working. Let's turn it on by simply sending a signal right here and planting the first mushroom and applying it bone meal here and here. Okay, so it should start. You can see this is what I was talking about. This tube block keeps going down, but it's always connected to the tubing network. It goes down, breaks mushrooms. All of them go into this tubing network that then is connected to this relay, which is then connected to the item tesseract, which eventually is kind of silly, but through this entire wireless thingy, eventually it comes back right here. But it's only to keep this thing refilled. Now, I could skip this entire thing and directly try to feed this deployer first, and then only then all the excess goes to tesseract, and then it will still make sense, because then still this deploying mushrooms deployer will be on a higher priority. But since I also want to use bone meal, I can just do this and add the thingy here. So it really is kind of exactly the same. I don't know, it's just like everything connected like this with the applied logistics. Okay, so looking at the Galgadorian metal recipe, or more importantly the Air of Galgador, all of the products except for the gas tier I've got nailed pretty much. Magma cream, slime ball and blaze powder, got it. Fermented spider eye, got it the previous episode, mushroom this episode, and sugar, I've got sugar canes on farming. And I have ender pearls and blaze powder. So the only remaining thing to do is get ghasts. I've got a couple of ideas, but all of them start with the actual collection of a soul shard full of ghasts. So this is kind of something I have no much choice but to go ahead and start farming ghasts in the nether. So probably gonna do this off screen. This is not that exciting. So I'm gonna have to repair this sword and to go ahead and start doing that, and hopefully by the next episode start to actually building a trap for them and start farming them as well. Alright, so as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.